So I just spoke with Francois, the founder of Zeffy. It's always an interesting feeling talking to him because it's one of my biggest misses so far. I met Francois like 3 years ago when he was raising his seed round. He was raising about 3 million. I ended up passing. They were like under 1 million ARR at that point. And in the last 3 years, they've grown 30x. So anyways, figured since I didn't get into his company, I might as well get him on the show. But it's been a long road for him. He actually started with this like marketplace for volunteering. Then he was selling to schools. And then he was selling to big corporates. And then finally, he landed on what Zeffy is today, which is a fundraising platform for nonprofits. The crazy thing is that it's absolutely free to use. They make all of their money, which is now in the tens of millions in revenue a year, off of tipping, voluntary tipping from people who donate to Zeffy's customers, which are non-for-profits. It's a tough model to wrap your head around, but it's working in a big way. Welcome to the Product Market Fit Show, brought to you by Mistral, a seed stage firm based in Canada. I'm Pablo. I'm a founder turned VC. My goal is to help early stage founders like you find product market fit. Francois, welcome to the show, man.
Welcome, Pablo. Thanks for having me.
You've built a business that's now well into the 8 figures. You know, it's driving tens of millions of donations, right? And we'll get to what it is that your business does. So very successful. And you did it on this kind of one and done model. Not really, right? But people these days are talking about you've got bootstrapping, which is you don't raise any money, certainly not from outside, and you just kind of do what you got to do with what you got. You've got the VC route, which is typically pre-seed, seed, A, B, and you just keep raising every 12 to 18 months. And then you've got this middle road, which people are calling this one and done idea of you raise one round and then you never raise again. And in your case, it wasn't exactly that. Like you did a small pre-seed, right, $750K. Then you raised a seed round, about 3.5 million, correct me if I'm wrong-ish. But then you haven't raised since. And what was interesting was chatting with you the other day, and kind of your idea right now is you're not planning on raising, at least not in the short term. So definitely want to kind of explore what that's been like with you. But I mean, it's interesting. Like you've been in the nonprofit world this whole time. You had a marketplace approach, then you had like a to schools approach, right, selling to education, then to like large enterprise, ultimately selling software. There's this flywheel going on because you're adding, you're adding nonprofits there too. But it's more this like, you go from marketplace to platform, but different problems along the way. Now you're like on version 3 really of the business. And I'm still like I'm like, man, how do you go from this to the donations part? Like it seems like a big jump.
Yeah. And I think what was driving us with Thibaut is at this stage, we really wanted to do something with meaningful impact, something where it would really scale and help thousands and hundreds of thousands of people to have impact. So now this is September 2018, and we have one corporate client, maybe 30 schools. But like what's coming up is not really exciting. Like we'll do maybe one more large contract. And so we decided to stop the corporate volunteering. And we really went to a lake house north of Montreal. The two of us, like, what do we do now? Do we stop? We like working together. That's what we knew. We like the space, helping nonprofits have more impact. And at this time, we heard about a platform tip-based in Europe. They were doing in Europe 100% free with a tip. And we thought, okay, but if it works in Europe where people leave maybe €1 for a 200 euros meal, here in Quebec and in America, it will work for sure. And it's exactly what nonprofits are asking for, a free platform.
This was tipping, but it wasn't for non-for-profits. It was for a different.
No, it was really for non-profits.
Oh,
but in Europe.
And so how do you get this off the ground once you decide to go after this like free tipping platform?
So here it's, so now Thibaut knows how to code, which is nice. And it was early October, and we said, look, it's been 2 years now. We want to go fast. If we want to go this way, it has to work really well until Christmas. And we said, let's make sure we raise 50K before Christmas for nonprofits, or we stop. It was our challenge. And Thibaut coded it in 3 weeks. He did the donation module, added Stripe. We put it on the volunteering platform. It was just another tab. You had volunteering and donation. So we already have all those login, sign up module, and I sent an email and called all the 1,000 nonprofits we had in Quebec, saying, "Look, donation 100% free. I'll come to your office to do the setup with you." And actually, a month later, we had like not a lot, maybe 10 nonprofits
Really?
who decided to add the donation button. And it was, I think we were lucky that they trusted us already because of the impact we had helping them recruit volunteers.
But I'm shocked it wouldn't be more, to be honest. Like if you had 1,000 of these, you're offering them to, free way to get to get donations, and so like 1% of them convert.
Yeah, it's true. So maybe it was less than 1,000 in volunteering at the time.
It was still a small conversion, which is still shocking.
Yeah. It was a small conversion, yes. They would have questions. Okay, can we trust you with our donation because you're not payment platform? Like it was a bit. We had to gain a bit of their trust, and that's reason because we didn't have many features, and at the time, like I remember the first donation ever on the platform. It was a monthly giving. We had the feature already, but it was broken. So after a month, we just had to call the person and say, "Look, could you do your monthly giving again?" So that's actually recurring.
Well, that's what I was going to kind of ask. Like, what's like this is the part that I still don't really understand about the business that I'm hoping we'll dive in on. Like, what is stopping anybody else from doing this, especially in your space, especially the platforms that are already handling, let's say, donations or other part of the money handling part of like, non-for-profits, like, because it seems like it's more of a business decision. Like it's not a technical, innovation or whatever. Like anybody could just be like, hey, actually, now we're not going to charge you for whatever you raise. And we just add this like tip layer on top. What am I missing? Like what's harder here?
Yeah, well, if you're starting a business, the hard part is to get the trust because they need to trust you with giving, and it takes a bit of credibility, etc. But that's something it's possible, and a lot of fundraising platforms are out there. I think now there are two things preventing someone to do exactly the same. First is other fundraising platforms are structured with higher cost and sales motion. They have higher margin on each nonprofit, so they do more money on the fundraising. But it's also, I think, an addiction because now they are structured with higher cost, more sales, more customer success, working nonprofits to use their product. And so they are a bit addicted to this margin. The second part is really our other obsession is making a simple platform, and it's just making good product. And I think now we could even have started a fundraising platform with the same pricing than everybody, but just making it super simple, easy to use, and intuitive. And it really makes a difference because those are not professional fundraisers. Those are volunteers who do it at night after their work hours, and they don't want to spend time learning a platform. So making it simple is now super important.
How many nonprofits do you work with now?
Now 30,000 now.
Wow, that's incredible. So how do you go from 10 to like 100 to 1,000? Like when do you really feel like it starts to click?
Yeah. First, so in this, we had like 10, and after a month, maybe 20 more, I would follow up with the space. And then we recruited our first sales. Miriam was still at Zeffy. It's funny because we were able to recruit her. We were not making a lot of money, but we had an advisor who was really excited by this vision and this model. And he said, okay, let me lend you $15,000. You recruit her and she will pay it back. Well, not her, but us as a company when the sales scale. And so we recruited her as a sales, and we were just cold calling.
15K. I mean, basically, you had like a month, like 2 months worth of salary. It like didn't have a lot of time to pay back.
We didn't have a lot of time, but we knew we had some fundraising campaigns coming up, so we knew a bit. It was not only like in terms of cash flow, we knew it was coming. And then at the time, the assumption that was we would just hire a ton of sales people And so we went to Ange Quebec and early stage VCs, and we raised our pre-seed to recruit more sales. It was really the thesis.
That was like the 750K that you raised in 2019.
And some product and engineers scale a bit the platform, release our version 2, because now version 1 was designed for school volunteering, but then it evolved to corporate volunteering, and then it was a donation platform. So we had to build it from scratch and do sales.
You at this point had sold to, I mean, you did the marketplace thing, you sold to schools, you tried to sell to enterprises. Now you're selling to nonprofit. And I'll admit, it's a funny, like, sale is a funny word because you're not actually asking them for money. You're asking them to use the thing. And then, the end user will use money. How easy was this sale relative to the other? I mean, obviously enterprise was really hard, but like relative to the schools as an example, did you feel like the uptake was even better, or was it actually maybe a little harder than you'd expected to get people to say yes?
I know it was really easy for people to say yes, because we were just calling those on Eventbrite saying, hey, you're paying 7%. We have the same features, plus we do your tax receipt. It was a no-brainer. So, and looking back, it was not really a sales job, because we would not have contract value. They would just say how much they're going to raise, and no negotiation. Commission was a mess. It was, I think, seems that I most poorly managed of my career, because we had sales rep coming from actual sales team of other startups and saying, this is nonsense. And they would leave sometimes after 6 months, and I was desperate because the sales was easy, but the struggle was just following up so that they actually do their setup, but it was not problem solving and negotiation.
Well, it's kind of funny. It's a funny model to run in sales-led motion. Like, you would think this kind of model would be like your classic, product-led growth, marketing-led model, self-serve, easy to onboard, and just like, because you're going after the long tail with, effectively a free product.
Yeah, and it took us, I think, a long time to realize. And today it's entirely self-serve, product-led. Definitely. Maybe what we didn't realize is we were focusing on the long tail and not the largest nonprofit, because we would then call the larger nonprofits and try to onboard large campaigns. But yeah, it was a better fit for small nonprofits. Super simple. It's a simple decision. And also, I think it came from a personal mistake that we started with schools and I was selling to them. And then we did corporate volunteering and I was selling it. So it was the only motion I knew. And I think looking back, I should have explored more growth stories to realize it faster.
So how quickly, like, give me a sense of numbers. Like, you launched this, like in late, I think, 2018, but let's say like 2019, 2020, 21, like how fast are like revenues, donations and like revenues growing?
Yeah, it's growing really fast. We're doing 10x each year. And it's our North Star. Like, let's do 10 times more nonprofits, but starting from zero. So just 10x are easy. And then I remember in July 2021, so now it's like 3 years into Zeffy, we do approximately 2 million donation a month, something like this. And our revenue, I think, is in I think it's in the $40,000 a month.
Okay. So you'd gone from like 40K a year before, it was like 4K a year before, it was like $400 of monthly revenue, net revenue. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly, more or less. So yeah, it was 10x from 400 a month.
10x from really small, but it's starting, like at that point, I mean, you're doing like $500,000 run rate revenue. It's starting to become a real thing. And that's when you raise that seed round.
Exactly. And that's where it was still a sales motion. And it was an interesting round because the goal was to open in the US. And it was a tough fundraising because growth was decreasing. So this 10x was decreasing and decreasing because the sales team, it was not scaling well. As you say, it was not the right motion. People would leave. It was terrible motion. And we're trying to open in the US and raise money to go in the US. And they would tell us, what's your sales plan exactly? How are you going to make it? And our answer was, it's impossible to know. They really wanted a detailed plan. And so at some point with Thibaut, we said, look, let's just put the fundraising on hold for 2 weeks. Let's stop raising this seed and let's open in the US. Like it's easy. We just do Stripe, Atlas, blah, blah, blah. And so we opened, signed maybe 2 nonprofits that were friends of a friend, and came back to the fund and said, look, we already have some traction in the US. Now we just need to deploy the effort. And it really convinced them that it was enough traction. And then we actually did this sales effort in the US and it was catastrophic. Like it was terrible result. People, I don't know, cold calling in the US is very competitive. When you have a French accent like me, it's even worse. But so it was terrible, but someone in marketing joined Zeffy and started to run this Google ads. And within 6 months, she was bringing Camille like 10 times more nonprofits. That
on Google Ads.
On Google Ads.
What kind of terms? Like what are people searching? Like literally like fundraising platform? Like these terms or what?
Yeah, fundraising platform for nonprofits, Eventbrite for nonprofits.
Man. So that was like the easy, like I can't believe it, dude. That's like the easiest thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying it's easy to run Google Ads, but like, come on, really? It took you 5 years? Yeah. I can't believe it. Holy shit.
So simple. And so we switched our entire organization to a marketing-led product. And those 3 years, well, a lot of things happened, but if I'm summarizing, we just scaled Google Ad from $5,000 a month to $500,000 a month, and it just brought traction and 30,000 nonprofits.
Well, that's where like everything aligned, right? They talk about product market channels or product market sales fit or whatever you want to call it. And it, if you just sit back for a second, it makes sense. Like long tail, simple to use, free product. You should be trying to hit everybody and let them on board when they're truly ready to onboard, you know what I mean? And kind of find you and do the steps versus calling them maybe at the wrong time and so on. So like it, when you back into it, like hindsight's 2020, it's always easier to like make the story, make sense looking back. But it all seems to align now.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's more scaling challenges where you want to go further than performance channels, but being more like those brand marketing where you touch more people and create this brand love. You open new products like this non-profit starter where people will just start their non-profit with Zeffy. It's really a different story of scale.
Well, so I've got a bunch of questions, but like two that come to mind. The first one is on this one and done idea that we were talking about. You raised the seed round. A couple questions around that. So first of all, at that time, did you assume, in 12 months we're going to raise a Series A? Was that your thinking, or did you already think maybe we don't need any more money? And related to that, why, even though you've had so much growth, have you not decided to go out and raise money and maybe even grow more, build more, whatever?
It's really a great question. First thing, in our plan when we raised the seed, the idea was to become profitable after 18 months. But actually, we didn't think we would make it. And we made it because of the margin that increased radically when we had volume. And we didn't know we would negotiate that well with Stripe after some point. So we really did become profitable. And so after 2022 and 2023, now we're profitable and we have enough funds to be growing. So we're doing 200% yearly growth, and money is not limiting us. Like if we had, 10 million today, I'm not sure we would use it very wisely, and it wouldn't be a game changer. Maybe we'd do a huge ad campaign, but you don't know if the ROI will be there. And so now money is not limiting our growth, so we don't have any reason to raise. And we did hear some advice like, hey, raise money while you don't need it, because then you have this buffer, it's in the bank and it's safe. But I think it's actually a very conservative strategy, because you'll take this money that you don't need, so you're preventing a risk that you don't know is necessary. But you do two things. First, as a founder and funding team, you spend a lot of time raising money and not focusing on growth. And second, you're putting someone new in the table and in the board. And it's always a risk that it will not fit or slow you down. And so you're in a great position and you will prevent a risk that's not really there and put two more problems in your company. So I really don't think it's.
I think that makes sense. I mean, in your case, you are profitable. You're growing that fast. Like, it's hard to imagine that tomorrow growth will go from 200% to 0%, and even if it did, you would still be profitable. So, like, I think that all makes sense. I guess the question is, like, what do you think it is about your company that you're able to, like, normally the trade is growth for efficiency. Normally, it's like, okay, companies like growing 50%, but at least it's profitable, or the company's growing 200%, but it's got to burn some money to do it. And that's like where the VC stuff comes in. You get to have both, and therefore don't really need capital. What is it about your model you think that allows you to do that? Maybe you don't have the answer, but like, I figured I'd ask you since you're the one closest to it. Like, because, I think many founders would love to be in your in your shoes. You kind of can't lose.
It's a great question. So this is the only startup I funded, so I don't have many data points, but I think part of it is the industry and the trends and how much it costs to process money and spend in ads, etc. But I also think what's different between Zeffy and maybe other competitors or fundraising platform is really the talent density. And I think we've been really, really conservative in when we recruit, making sure we always recruit someone better than us in each team. And we really take the time to add people only when it's necessary. And if not, invest a lot in technology. And I think that allows us to execute fast, because we're still small, we're 30, and be profitable. So I think talent density would be a key to achieve this.
Do you tend to hire people that are like more experienced than your peers, or maybe more like founder DNA, or what is it that you tend to look for in these hires?
Yeah, it's a good question. Not necessarily. For junior, we like them to be just out of university. So the more junior is the role, the less experience we want, because we want to get them at a role where they will learn as much as they will bring. So maybe it's not really clear how I'm saying this, but if we take someone to do a job they have already done for 2 years, they are probably not really in a track where they are progressing. The people we want them to start with this junior role and really, really quickly progress. And so this junior role has to be the hardest for them at this moment. So we try really to get people that have a lot of potentials to progress. And it means often they are really, really driven and ambitious in what they want to accomplish in their career. But I think except that, so yeah, we'll often focus more on the skills than the experience. So the people themselves and their qualities rather than what they have achieved.
And then let me ask another question, which is back to something I was kind of alluding to earlier. If I tell somebody about your business, especially another VC, the number one thing I think they will say to me is, man, that's a really simple business. You know what I mean? Like, wow, really neat, really cool. Amazing that he's built it that far, but like, holy shit, that's a simple business. Like, anybody could do that tomorrow. Right or wrong, I'm just saying, like, that's, I think, what people would think. And they wouldn't be wrong in the sense that there are a lot of situations where somebody finds an interesting wedge somewhere and gets pretty incredible pull because the value prop is really there, but fails to build a sustainable business out of it because, the like when they do it, it's an interesting wedge. 5 years later, everybody that was around it has also built that same kind of feature set or whatever, and whatever edge they had is gone. How have you managed to turn this free fundraising using Tip into something that is more sustainable, that's allowed you to reach well into the 8 figures of revenue, 30 employees, and profitable, which just, it means that nobody's kind of eating your lunch. What has your product evolved to beyond just that piece?
Yeah, super clear. Yeah, it's not just processing money with this business model, but I think in terms of fundraising, there's many ways you can fundraise. And maybe the last one we opened is interesting. It's a tap to pay app where nonprofits can accept payment in person just with an iPhone, iPhone 11 and more. You have this technology. And so it's really adding all those fundraising technologies and so that they can raise more.
Is there a whole back end too, besides just the front end of taking the money in the first place?
And exactly, that's the other part is the back end. So they have the ability to send a follow-up to people that were invited but didn't come to their event, to segment donors into large donors, recurring donors, etc. Even capture some marketing intelligence of visitors, like donors coming back but not completing their forms. So we built this entire platform, making sure it's super efficient for them to use, and it's really powered our word of mouth. And a lot of our growth is word of mouth today. So we spoke about ads, but the other half of the story is word of mouth, and that's by building all those products that we managed to grow, and also doing the stuff they didn't ask. So our forms, I don't know, if you're on a Shopify e-commerce, you have always Google Pay, a nice experience, it's mobile friendly, etc. But for nonprofits, even today, it's far from being the case for many software because it's not their focus. But we still build all those modern and regular tech into the fundraising space so that you have the same quality of a checkout experience, the same sign up experience, just SSO, one click, etc. So we also did all those things that nonprofits would not ask, but I think it was powering quality and word of mouth.
Perfect, man. Well, we'll stop it there. I'll ask the 2 questions we always end on. The first one is, when did you feel like you had true product market fit?
I think the first one, it was with schools. It was really funny to see this product market fit. And I understood it was it because our product was almost, inexistent at first and really, really simple. And it would amaze me that they were excited by something so simple. And I think it was a sign of product market fit. So that's the first part, but then the market was too small. And the second part was when we launched the donation platform, and they would just be so patient with us, even when we had bugs and issues in our first week. So I think it was the other hint of product market fit, the fact that they would just wait and build the product with us and be patient. So those 2 moments, I think, were key.
And then the last question, what advice would you have for a founder who's thinking about the one and done, or in your case, the 2 and done fundraising playbook?
I would do quite seriously the math of how do I become profitable 18 months after my run. And probably I wish we could probably even have done it after 1 round if we were more serious in this focus. And then maybe a bit on what we discussed, I would spend slightly more time with early founders. So I don't know, when you're pre-seed, just spending time with seed or series A founder to understand how they build their motions. And I would spend more time with them and less time with, I don't know, series D advisors, outstanding advisors who don't really know this.
Yeah, I think it's a great one. Like finding somebody that you trust and admire that's just 1 or 2 notches from where you are, that still really remembers what it was like, I think is so important. Frank, thank you for jumping on the show, man.
It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
If you listen to this episode and the show and you like it, I have a huge favor to ask for you. Well, it's actually a really small favor, but it has huge impact. But whichever app you're listening to this episode on, take it out, go to Product Market Fit Show and leave a review, please. It's going to help. It's not just going to help me, to be clear. It's going to help other founders discover this show, because the algorithms, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, whether it's any other podcast player, one of the big things they look at is frequency of reviews. It's quantity of reviews. And the reality is, if all of you listening right now left reviews, we would have thousands of reviews. So please take literally a minute, even if you're just writing like great podcast or I love this podcast, whatever it is, just write a few words. Obviously, the longer the better, the more detailed the better, but write anything, leave 5 stars, and you will be helping me, but most importantly, many other founders just like you discover the show. Thank you.